Thanksgiving week will make a 2-year mark since I left ESPN and switched jobs. And I have moments of gratitude. I'm not one of these yoga type of mentality, we are the world type of people. I'm not one of these guys that like, oh, I practice gratitude and all this stuff. But there's times in my life where I'm at Oktoberfest in Munich, and then I shoot over to Berlin and go to these clubs, and like then I go to
a great museum too.
Great museum. I go to Arsenal. I go to London and go to an Arsenal game, and like I could just drop everything at drop of a dime and be pretty comfortable doing so. I have the means to do so. And like 2 years ago, I couldn't even imagine doing that. Like it was not part of my life.
Welcome back to the Found Generation, a self-improvement podcast. We're back on the road again, this time coming to you from Miami, Florida, with good friend Jake Lenok making his third appearance on the podcast. First in Found Generation era. It's really nice. I mean, I see a lot of other people making their appearances. Yeah. I feel like I was deserving of an earlier appearance, but wow.
I mean, listen, you're a busy man. I'm not salty about it. I am a grudge holder, but I don't hold a grudge against my friends.
Seems like you've been waiting to say this for a while.
I mean, like you're gonna hear it from me a little bit. I do have stuff to say, and you know, you finally put a microphone. This is the first time with a microphone in front of my face in about a year and a half. So yeah, I do plan on saying some stuff. So you might take some shots here.
Oh, great. Well, I'm used to that from you. Let's waste no time, get into it. So I said we're here in Miami. You moved here earlier this year. Why did you make that decision?
Just always where I wanted to be. I was looking for jobs when I worked back in the media in Miami. I was going to take a pretty low paying job just to be in Miami. This has always been kind of a second home for me. My grandparents live here. So it's always had like a family kind of community to me. It's not what most people think of when people think of Miami to me. But it's just beautiful weather all the time, beautiful people. I feel like when I'm here, I want to be the best version of myself. So I made the move, and you know, my work granted me the opportunity to kind of, you know, have my own path for success. And I think that when I'm here, it makes me want to be the best person I can be. And, you know, this is part of it, you know, living right and seeing what real success looks like. And this is part of the vision. So
can I call you out?
Go for it.
So you love to tell me what to do with my life's choices. And way back when, earlier this year, around the time that you moved here, I was once again debating where to live. Mm-hmm. And you made the strong case for me living in New York City, and that if I don't do it, I will regret it, and it's a big mistake. Conversely, at the same time, you were leaving New York City, this amazing, incredible place that I should drop everything for.
Well, there's a method to my madness, Troy. You and I are in wildly different positions in our life. I've lived that life. I've done that. Been there, done that. I've had that experience. You are a man who is a glutton for experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And I know this about you. And the experiences and opportunities in New York are endless. It gets a horrible rep for being dangerous and dirty and whatever, but there's a bookstore on every block. There's a coffee shop on every block. There's a bar, brewery, whatever you may want to get into, you can find on any corner of New York City. Even if you want to, you know, talk to somebody, there's always a homeless person willing, ready, and able to lend a helping hand to you. And you could just kind of, you know, kick it with people. And I feel like you would love New York City, but, you know, you could take the man out of the mountains, but you can't take the mountains out of the man, I guess. So you had to go back to New Hampshire, which I don't understand for a 27-year-old. I mean, listen, I look at you kind of like a little brother, you know, you're in a position that I wasn't in when I was 27. When I was 27, I was still in ESPN in a place where I didn't want to be, living kind of a low-key life. Then when I was 28, 29, somewhere around there, I moved to New York, and it was the greatest time ever because that was the position I was in. And I think New York is a big credit to that. But again, I've been there, I've done that, and I get bored of things and places very quickly. I like to move and shake, and that's just
Can
what makes
relate.
me Jake. I just had to rhyme there. It was just a layup. So, yeah, I mean, I love New York. I got a lot of love for New York, but New York's also 20 degrees in February, and Miami's about 70. So it was a pretty easy decision to make there.
Well, as you once told me, part of your pitch to get me to New York, if you want to wake up at 4 a.m. and drink coffee with the rats, there's a place for you to do that.
That's
so
what I'm saying.
that's I don't regret my decision to move back to New Hampshire, although I do regret signing a year lease because I think
sounds like regret to me.
I think
don't
in
know.
January I am going to want to leave, and I might just go to New York City. But I also said that last time, and as you know me, I'm not a man of my word.
No, not when it comes to making plans in advance. You make a tentative plan, change your mind 45 times behind the scenes, make a decision without telling me,
Right.
and then wait till the last minute to tell me so I could just blow you up
Right.
and berate
Then
you.
I get the angry phone call, and I'm like, how did he find out about this?
I listen, I got my ear to the streets and I put your face in the ground, bro. So I got to make sure that I keep you on your P's and Q's. You got to stay honest with me or else I'm going to call you out for being sneaky, man. That's what I do.
Oh, yeah. You hate the hypocrisy as well.
Sneaky and hypocrisy are two different
They
things.
are.
I never really call you out for being a hypocrite. I think that you're a lot of things, a lot of great things, some bad things, but a hypocrite's not one of them. I don't think you're a hypocrite.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Cool.
But this is about you.
Yeah.
You said that you haven't been behind the microphone in a long time. You used to be behind the microphone all of the time. Why did you choose to leave ESPN a year and a half-ish ago?
Well, I mean, you've been over on the podcast. ESPN is a hellhole. I hope that place.
I love ESPN.
Yes. Oh, Troy loves ESPN's great,
Especially
it's,
Connecticut.
the worldwide leader in sports and
Miserable
awesome.
people.
However, my experience was less than satisfactory there. I think I got treated unfairly, and I wouldn't even say unfairly, just unkindly. People just didn't really care about anything, and you were just, what was it, a pog or a cog in the machine or something like that? Yeah, I knew it was one of those.
Cog in the corporate wheel.
Yeah, and I don't like to feel used. I'm very, very bad at taking direction and taking orders. And I know that's part of corporate America, so you kind of got to bend a little bit. But it got to a breaking point where I just was not living a life that was a life that I like to live. And, when I made the switch, so obviously I went from ESPN to a financial job. It wasn't easy, but it was one where I had to kind of go on the outside and kind of take inventory on what's important to me. And at the end of the day, my freedom and, making a little bit more money and being able to do the things that I wanted to do whenever I wanted them to happen was very important to me, more so than being in front of a microphone. I'm very excited to be on this podcast today because I do love this. I do love being in front of a microphone. It was a passion of mine for a very, very long time, which was one of the hardest things to give up when I was leaving ESPN because I put so much work into it, so many sleepless nights, so many days in a row that I would be in front of a microphone, working in front of a board or whatever it was, producing. I loved all of it when it was pure. But when it got a little bit too corporate and controlling and uncreative, that's kind of was the breaking point for me. I feel like I wasn't being myself. And when I'm not myself, I can't create good content. When I can't create good content, what's the point? I'm not chasing a passion anymore. I'm just chasing a job. And a job's not what I want unless I'm making a lot of money.
Right. But you chose to leave the industry entirely.
Yes.
Rather than just ESPN being a bad place. There's many places in media that are great places.
Well, I mean, I left media totally, but it wasn't for lack of trying. I definitely applied to a lot of places, and I thought ESPN would be a good stepping stone to get one of those jobs at one of those places. Came up short. The job search lasted longer than I wanted to, and it got, again, that breaking point. I remember it very, very, clear. It's when all of our friends started leaving ESPN. You left ESPN. Our buddy Connor left ESPN. Our buddy Devin left the ESPN. Our buddy Tito left ESPN. And it was just like me and a bunch of like these corporate guys save for a few guys like Cam, who's been on this podcast. Yates, has he been on this podcast? Bubba, like there's still people I love that was there, but it just didn't feel, I didn't feel that same community. And on top of the job, it just became terrible for me. Like I was not being myself. I was very depressed. It's not my style. I'm a very like happy-go-lucky person. I'm usually very lighthearted. And I tried to get a job in media. It didn't happen. And I was fortunate because I have a great friend who always kind of gave me a fail safe with the job that I currently have. And I took inventory and I was like, this is the only move that I can make. Luckily, it worked out phenomenally beyond what I could have imagined. I was telling you the other day that, November will mark, like Thanksgiving week will make a 2-year mark since I left ESPN and switched jobs. And I have moments of gratitude. I'm not one of these, yoga type of mentality.
Yeah,
We
hate
are
those
the world
guys.
type of people. I'm
Yeah.
not one of these guys that like, oh, I practice gratitude and all this stuff. But there's times in my life where, I'm at Oktoberfest in Munich, and then I shoot over to Berlin and go to these clubs, and like then I go
A
to
great museum too.
yeah, great museum. I go to Arsenal. I go to London and go to an Arsenal game, and like I could just drop everything at a drop of a dime and be pretty comfortable doing so. I have the means to do so. And like 2 years ago, I couldn't even imagine doing that. Like it was not part of my life. It wasn't even close to part of my life. And when people were talking about vacations and free time and all this stuff, I would like roll my eyes and laugh and kind of, feel a little bit of resentment towards them a little bit because I was a little bit jealous. And now, it fortunately has become part of my life. And it's because I made that move 2 years ago. So there is so many times that like I kind of like look around. I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here right now. Like it's wild. 2 years removed. It's a crazy, crazy time,
Self-awareness is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I think a lot of us in what we're doing, kind of at some point, we hit a point where we're kind of at a crossroads. And I think you were probably at this moment when you're at ESPN, where you kind of have to ask yourself, you know what, maybe I'll never be as good at this as I want to be. You never got to accomplish your dreams of like being an on-air ESPN radio talent. Did you have to face that harsh reality of like, you know what, maybe I'm just never going to get there and I should just switch course?
No, because I was better than everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was awesome at what I did.
You were great.
I think I'm fairly electric behind a microphone, call it cocky or whatever. I think I have great self-awareness. Every time I got behind a microphone, everywhere I went, whether it was Indiana University, ratings spiked. When I started my show, I went from a show that went from 1 day a week, 1 hour a week, to 3 shows a week, 2 hours a week, because I became one of their main hosts. When I worked in Indiana, I started as a promotions assistant. They got me on air one time, became a producer, was on air all the time. People were calling in to talk to me. Even when I was working in shows in ESPN, the hosts loved working with me. And when they scoped out segments that kind of had me on the show. But I think ESPN kind of has a way of kind of jamming you a little bit.
Yeah.
They want to keep you down. They'll call you a production assistant, even though you're producing nationwide shows, just to kind of lower you. And
Right.
In my opinion, a little bit of conspiracy theorist, a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, especially when it comes to ESPN, which is such like a corporate environment where I think that they keep that label on you and keep you, down. So your resume looks a little bit worse.
Right.
So it's harder to find a job. I really do believe that. And that was one thing that ate at me. I used to think about that all the time, to the point I would put on my resume that I'm a producer. And then they'd be like, oh, what show do you produce? And then I'd be like, oh, I kind of move around. I work SportsCenter all night. I work Shanae and Golick Jr. I work, every single show that's there. But I hold a lot of responsibilities, whether that's the main producer, the associate producer, the board operator, whatever it is. And then it comes out like, oh, he's a production assistant. I'm like, if only you knew, man. Like,
Yeah.
So that used to eat at me a little bit. And I do believe they do that for a reason.
Does it eat at you now that you left the industry kind of unfulfilled?
No, because my life's pretty cool right now. I'm a very fulfilled individual as we stand here. I don't. Yeah, I tell you this all the time. Like I grew up playing tennis, and we used to do yoga. And I know I'm not a yoga guy, but one message that I always kept was to kind of live in the moment. You can't think of the last point if you hit a bad shot and you're down love 30 or something like that, because that'll just screw you over going into the next point. You don't want to go down love 40 or else you're really screwed, something like that. You can't dwell on the past. I mean, there's a couple of grudges that I may hold or whatever, and there's some people that, I may not want to watch succeed, and I will watch gladly if they fail, because I do think that success isn't enough sometimes. I do want to see people that have wronged me do bad. It's just kind of the way I am. You could call it what it is. But I don't look back. I really try not to remember like some of the things about ESPN, because it just gets me mad and in a bad mood. I've really moved on. Like I've very much moved on. I very rarely think about my time at ESPN because I'm busy living my life and doing my current job. And, if there's anything I took away from ESPN, it's about how hard we worked all the time. Because right now I kind of work for myself. I mean, I work for a company, but I'm my own boss. Like I pretty much do my own hours. I could work wherever I wanted. Part of the reason why I'm in Miami. And, I owe it to, the 27, 28-year-old version of me that was working overnight shifts and, 14 days in a row and all that. I'm like, I can work a 9 to 5 and work really hard and make sure that I am excelling at my job in a way that others can't, because I know how much harder I worked in the past. It's really not the most demanding thing in the world. And I have my weekends, I have a routine, I got, my health and everything in check. And
For now.
And, it's just been, that experience with the ESPN, I like, I can be a little bit of like a self-deprecating person just for like, I think it's easier to connect with people if you have that aspect and you're just like, you kind of let someone's guard down if you're like, oh, I'm not perfect and like I'm a piece of shit or whatever, and gets them laughing. But I do take away the positives of most experiences. I don't really take away the negatives. And if I were to dwell on the past and all the negatives, I can think about all the time lost in control room 3 or whatever. But instead, I kind of look back on that and, I live my life now for that person. And I have moments and I do things. I could drop everything at the drop of a dime and go anywhere because I owe it to that person. I lost time there. So I want to make sure that, I live the most fulfilling life because of like what that experience was like. I didn't do much, especially when COVID hit and everything.
If I told you that you could be in Miami as a sports radio host or sports podcaster making the same amount of money that you are in finance right now, would you do it?
I don't know. I probably not, because I mean, like, what's the growth going to look like? Because the growth in my job is exponential, month by month, day to day, year by year. Like it's really a growth industry that I'm in, and it's something that I didn't like. I was expecting to go into a job where I was going to make money and have free time. I did not expect that I would enjoy it at all. I thought I was going to hate it. As a matter of fact, I love it. I love the people that I work with. I work right next to my best friend of 20 years. His older brother, who's like older brother to me. We got a great group of coworkers that just share my same sense of humor, and it's just such like a light atmosphere, which is so not what media is. Again, I love this. Like if I had those people, if I was an on-air host, same growth pattern, and they were all like my producers and stuff, and I got to work with them every day, maybe I would go back, but like I can't imagine liking something as much as I like doing right now. Like it could not be a more fitting job for me. It is like, it's so much fun. Like I have such a good time. Like there's definitely mundane parts to it. There's mundane parts to every job. You got to make a living to go and live your life and, you know, have experiences and do things. But it's like what they say. It's don't chase money, chase management. I don't really have a manager right now, but I have coworkers. I have a great work environment that is like, it gets me excited to go into the office and like just talk to these kids. We do the immaculate grid in the NBA every day.
Oh,
We
yeah.
talk shit about sports. We talk shit about girls. We talk shit about everything. They're just my style of people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a fun, funny atmosphere. And even like, you know, when you do the mundane stuff and you have a little break, it's just like very easy to kind of reset and then go back to like what you were doing before. So, and don't get me, there's frustrating parts about my job because I have to work with a lot of people that, you know, are kind of jerky with the people with, you know, we give out small business loans, business to business loans, and it's called cash advance. We're not supposed to call it loans, for the record. But some people are just not good with paying off these cash advances. And, you know, that's when it gets a little frustrating, but I also have fun with that too. And I use a lot of what I learned in media and communication and all that to kind of help me in my job. So I do interview people like you're doing with me right now. I have conversations with people constantly. No, it's not over the airwaves, but my thing was not so much about getting out over the airwaves and doing that. It's about this. Like, this is what I love. I love being around people and talking to people constantly. I'm a very talkative person. I mean, we've been on this podcast now for 15 minutes. I think you said like 14 things. So
That's the way I like it.
yeah. So, you know, my job does marry a lot of stuff that I love about work, and it pays well. So to answer your question that you asked about 7 minutes ago, I'd have to say no. Like, I really have no desire to get back into media because of the stressful environment that it presents. I just think like my job now gives me a lot of peace and freedom. It's just, it's a beautiful thing.
If you gave me a $10,000 cash advance and I wasn't paying it, what is the kind of phone call you would leave me? What's the voicemail you leave me when I know that you're calling me to collect money and I just don't want to face that?
Are you Troy Farkas, my friend, or are you
No,
Troy
no.
Farkas, the broke-ass trucker from South Carolina?
That guy.
You know, on the tamer end, I kind of just call them and I say, hey, man, like, I'm trying to help you out. You know, like, I gave you money to grow your business. You obviously didn't do that. You obviously took my money or took our money and you spent it on stupid things. And unfortunately, you signed a legally binding contract. And if you don't fulfill the contract, unfortunately for you, we have a collections department that can file liens on your business and your bank accounts. We could freeze whatever asset that you have, account, whatever it is. And it could financially ruin you. And I don't want to see that happen. I'm only here to help you. I gave you the money, but you signed an agreement and that's on you. So we have a collections team that can really financially make you not do too well. And once they're done with that, we have a legal team that will take you to court. There's a lot of fees that will get added on to that. And the court will rule that you have to legally mandated have to pay us back our balance on top of the default fees, legal fees, everything that's part of the contract. So that say you don't pay off that $10,000 cash advance, you know, that can end up being $25,000. And again, I'm just here to help you. So, you know, talk to me if you want to help me. A lot of these people just think ignoring my phone calls will solve their problems. I'm like, I'm the last friend you're going to have.
I mean,
I'm the last friend you got here, buddy. You better talk to me.
now, what about the 11th time you call me?
That's an off the podcast
Oh,
conversation. It's not baseball bat to the legs. I know what people are thinking. It's just I get annoyed when people don't answer my phone calls. I get annoyed when my friends don't answer my phone calls. I mean, I yell at people.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
do.
yeah.
I yell at people. But, you know, I try to just beat the idea into their head that I'm their friend. I'm here to help. I can pause payments. I can lower payments. I'm your friend here. Everybody else is going to financially corrupt you. They're not going to help you at all. But once you know, ignore me or tell me to go fuck myself, for lack of a better word. I mean, they do tell me that sometimes. And I'm like, okay. And I initiate the process. No love lost.
What are the biggest misconceptions about finance bros?
I mean, I don't think there's misconceptions. It depends on the person. I mean, a lot of times because I'm not your typical finance bro. I make money. I might dress a little broish sometimes. I wear like a Lacoste t-shirt. I wear a watch, and you know, and I'm loud and obnoxious. But I find that finance bros a lot of time can be the stereotype. But then there's people that are in finance that are just normal people like me, and usually that's like the rep that I get. Like, I'll go on a date with a girl and they'll be like, "Ah, another finance bro." And I'm like, "All right, keep talking to me." And then like by the end, they're like, "Oh, I thought you were just like some douchebag finance guy." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm deeper. I just like to have conversations with people and like get to know you. Everybody's got a story." And that's like, everybody's interesting to themselves. I mean, you came from somewhere, you've done something, you know, tell me about your last trip. Tell me about what excites you, what your passions are, all that stuff. And I think usually finance people, and I think that there's truth to the stereotype. There's truth to every stereotype, I think, but there's also exceptions to every stereotype. And a lot of times when you're sitting across from a finance bro, they'll be like, "Oh, I just bought a Ferrari and I got my 14th Rolex and I bought a $20 million apartment in Miami." And like, that's all they're going to talk about. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'll buy you drinks. I will treat you right. I will do, like, if my friends come, I treat everybody. It's just the way I am. I'm a giving person. But I don't flash everything that I have. It's not what I do. I'll wear what I bought and stuff like that, but it's not like the base of my interest. It's not the base of my conversations. And I think like I get labeled as the douchey finance bro sometimes just because of the way that I talk. I got a little New York accent. I'm loud, and I can do I fit the stereotype in a lot of ways. But when people start to get to know me and they talk to me, they're like, "Oh, he's not like that so much," because I met a lot of people where that stereotype is very, very true to. But I know a lot of people that stereotype is very, very not like that. So it goes both ways. It's a seesaw.
Now, in your job, it's very performance heavy. You kind of get out of it what you put into it. So there's no cap to what you're capable of, which is both a blessing and a curse. The blessing being like you can make really as much as you want. The curse being like, when do you stop? When is enough? Because you could drive yourself crazy just like working all the time when it's totally unchecked. So how do you kind of strike that balance between having ambition but not too much to the point that it kind of paralyzes you in a way?
I'll let you know when I get there. No, I think more so than like the ambition part is like it's about keeping the ambition, because there will be we get paid different amounts depending on how our month goes. And if I have a great month, then I'm taking trips to Europe. Like I'm spending thousands and tens of thousands, something like. And when I take those trips, all of a sudden you're kind of getting in the way of your performance because those trips leak into the next month or something like that. Or, you don't want to take as many shots, but you kind of have to keep it going in order to create a good wheel of, the performance that you're talking about. You kind of have to keep on, doing my job. It's going to, like, I don't want to get into the nooks and crannies of everything, but you need to put out a good amount of work Monday through Friday, every single day. And if you take a day off, you can miss out on a lot of opportunities. Now, fast forward 10, 15 years where I'll have a much larger operation going, where I can hopefully hire many people under me. I mean, I know people in this industry. You've met people in this industry who have that type of operation going on. And I imagine it gets to be like that income is just so nice to have, and they don't do that much, but they're still working like dogs and they're still making calls and all that. And you don't want to stop because you're used to having that income, but eventually, you can retire and sail into the sunset. But I imagine everybody's different in that sense. Everybody's kind of got a number in their head. Everybody's kind of, you know, I feel like I can't really comment on that. I feel like everyone will know when they're ready, when to, call it a day. I mean, my job is not going to be a job that I have until I'm 80. Hopefully, it'll be a job
You're not
until
making it till 80. Let's be honest.
well, I might. I'm indestructible, brother. You know this. But yeah, hopefully, if I see 50, that'll kind of be the close of it, and I can sail into the sunset, and I'll have more than enough saved up to kind of live my life. You said I'm not making it to 80, so if I retire at 50, I could die nicely at 55. I'll be doing all right.
I do want to briefly just go back to that quitting ESPN moment. So whenever I talk about doing something life-changing, jobs, locations, whatever, I hear it from my family. Troy, can't you just have a nice, stable, calm life? Like live in New Hampshire, buy a house, be there for a decade, meet a nice girl who you can have children with, and can just settle down. I'm tired of being worried about you. Your mom is also very much a worrier. So I'm curious, when you said, all right, you know what? I'm getting out of this thing, this stable job with it kind of sucks, but ESPN, very reputable, big brand name. When you told her and the rest of your family who cares about you that you were going to make this drastic change, what was their reaction?
It was mostly support. My mom is very controlling. Love her to death. My best friend in the world, but she's very, very controlling. And she doesn't like to think that any of her kids are not in the best position possible. She's also a bit of a sucker for corporate America. She loves the big names. She loved that I worked for ESPN. Didn't care how little I made. Didn't care about my hours or anything like that. She cared, obviously. She cared about my mental well-being and all that. I don't want to say she didn't care. But she was always like, but you work for Disney, you work for ESPN. That always played with her. And to leave her for a financial institution that she's never heard of before, despite her borderline, not blood related nephew working there, my best friend, she had a lot of questions. She's like, this might be drastic. And then I had to have a conversation look, I see the way that people that are doing this are living, and it is way more like the life I want to live, and they're doing very, very well, and I'm gonna do it. I'm not a person that can be controlled, really. My mom definitely wants more stability in my life, but that's not going to change wherever I am. I mean, she knew that being in Bristol, Hartford, Bloomfield, wherever you want to call it, was killing me. So she was always supportive. My grandparents obviously are my biggest cheerleaders ever, so they were supportive. But it took them a while to come around to the idea of me kind of what I struggled with, how hard I worked for making a life in media, and then just completely turning right and doing not right, just turning backwards 180 and doing a completely new direction. But I was like, if I'm cool with the idea, you guys need to be cool with the idea. I mean, I'm a grown ass man. I know what I'm doing, and I'm calculated. I'm not one of these people that just makes rash decisions that will drastically affect my life without putting a fair amount of thought into it. I'm rationally irrational. I'm very, I could be sporadic and crazy and, do a lot of different things at a lot of different times. But when it comes to life-changing things, I won't do it without, putting a fair amount of thought into it. And that's pretty much where that comes.
Do you think that how much weight should we put into the wishes of the people around us when we're making decisions about our lives? Because I ask, because my mom's like, I just need you near me. I need you if something happens to you, what just happened to me a couple months ago, emergency room, my mom got to me in 3-4 hours. She's like, if you're in London, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. So when we're making big decisions, how much should we take stock of what other people that we care about, what they say about it?
That's very sweet, by the way, of your mother.
Oh,
my mother's the same way. my grandparents are the same way. And they always wanted to keep me close, which is why when I lived in Indiana, they didn't like that as much because I wasn't as close. They like that I'm in Miami because they're always in Miami. But how much weight? If I were to put it in a percent about how much you should let others tell you what to do with your life, pretty close to 0%, maybe 1% because you care about them and you care about how they feel. I definitely care about how they feel. But if I feel I got an opportunity, I'm taking it. I'm not consulting anybody. Again, grown-ass man, rational man. I can do what I want. And their feelings and thoughts are much appreciated. And I love the fact that they care enough to voice their opinions, but only I know what's best for me. Only you know what's best for you. Only my mother knows what's best for my mother. Only your mother knows what's, so on and so forth. You got to live your life. You can't, in my opinion, you can't let others get in the way of you living your life. Whether that's taking a job, whether that's living somewhere that you want to be, whether that's making decisions that you want to make, whatever works for you, you got to do. Like I'm a doer. I'm always going to be a doer. And I always, like, people think I live in Miami and I just go crazy all the time. Like I'm out 7 nights a week and I don't sleep and I don't, take care of which couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, it could be a little further from the truth, to be honest. But my mother and my grandparents will call me and be like, hey, take it easy. You don't need to go too crazy and this. And I'm like, I do appreciate them because they really do care. But only I know what's best for me. I know how to maximize my life and what I get out of life. You only get one, And I know it's like cliche or whatever, but it's absolutely true. I don't want to get put in the earth at 37 and have like a ton of regrets and stuff that I left on the table. Like I go all out, and when it comes to people telling me what to do, whether it's for a job or whether it's, how I should structure my life or relationships or anything, I tend to take them into account maybe like 1% because I do care about them and I care about how they feel and I don't want to do things that will necessarily upset them. But I think that if I'm the best version of myself, I can't upset them because they love me. And if I'm being me, then that's just, the 100% more that they can love. You can either get 100% me, or if I weighed, my mother, my grandmother, whoever, 50%, then you're going to get 50% me and 50% you, which maybe they would love me more for. I don't know. But I only know how to be myself, man. I know what's best for me at all times. So when I feel a little unhealthy, I take a little time off and I go a little harder in the gym and I watch my diet a little bit more. When I feel like I'm not performing enough, I'll stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning pricing deals and making calls and collecting and doing everything that I need to do. There's a lot of balance that you need in life, and only you know the type of balance that you need in any moment. It's ever fleeting, it's ever changing. It's you got to measure where you're at and what you can do, and that's kind of how I live my life.
What is one quality in yourself that you have that you wish other people had? Because you're very different.
I think like openness, or just I like it when I don't like yes men or yes girls. I don't want to be.
It's 2023.
Yeah, I don't want to be gender specific there. Yes people. I don't like yes people. I like free thinkers and everything like that. But I do think that people don't push themselves enough to make themselves available. I think that people get very comfortable with who they are and in their little cocoons, and to say no to opportunities and experiences and stuff like that. I wish more people would just be like, yeah, fuck it. I'm down. Let's do something. Yeah. Like I call them, it's just like, I don't know. I just ate dinner. It's like, cool. You have calories and energy to go do something.
The maybe I'll let you know drives me
maybe
crazy.
I'll let you know that's a no. Maybe, take out the maybe I'll let you, and then just take the last word and change how it's spelled. It's just no. Like that is maybe we'll see, something like that. It's like, just tell me. Like either say yes or have the balls to say no. Like, I hate it when people are wishy-washy
Yeah,
like
the
that.
wishy-washy's worse. Just give me the definitive so I can move on.
I agree. Wishy-washy's worse. I wish people would just say, not today. I'm not feeling it. And I respect that. But I I like to surround myself with people that push themselves to kind of like go out and have experiences with me. I'll do it by myself. I'm very good at being by myself and having experiences. I love doing it, but I'm better with my team with me. So I always ask people if they want to, and most of the time they do. But there are times where people make excuses, and I think they're a little bit weak. And I'm like, come on, man, you got one shot at this. This could be the best night of your life. You only know if you do it.
One quality that you have that I wish I had is you will just say hello to anyone and everyone. I mean, the last 48 hours that I've been here, every doorman, every person in the elevator, any employee, you just say hi to them, ask them how their day is going, tell them to have a good day when you walk by. It's incredible. I really admire that about you. Do you ever feel like I'm very self-conscious? I just feel like people don't want to hear from me, these strangers. They don't want me to bother them. They don't want me to get them into some type of conversation, but you seem to not care about that.
Well, this goes back kind of to like your stereotype question of like the finance guy. Finance people, a lot of the stereotype is that they are self-important, selfish, and like kind of grimy, shitty people. I'm genuinely a kind person. I really care
Yeah.
about people. Like when I care about you, I care the fuck out of you. You won't be able to escape my clutches of care.
I'm aware.
Like I am really caring of like thoughtful to people that I fuck with. Like to a point where it may be a problem. I get angry when the people I care about don't move to fucking no, but like I just it's something my grandfather taught me. My grandfather's this old Italian guy. He ran with like crazy crews in New York and New Yorkers take pride in being like rude and like short, even though I think that's a bad stereotype too. Because most people I run into in New York, like if you're nice, listen, if you're looking for trouble, you'll get trouble. If you're looking for kindness, you'll get kindness. And my grandfather was always like, listen, it never kills you to be kind. You'll always get more bees with honey than with salt. It never hurts to be kind. So when I see somebody who's alone or, just doing their job or something, there's no amount of people that you could count that probably walk right past these people and like, either they're shy and they just don't really feel like talking or whatever, but it comes across as rude no matter what. I'm not going to let anybody feel like they're less than me, whether they're my doorman or somebody that works wherever. I think everybody has importance. Everybody's interesting. Everybody has a story to tell. I said this earlier in the podcast, but everybody has something about them that makes them great. And I think that everybody should believe that about themselves at the very least. And I started off with being kind. I'll say hi to everybody. I'll make sure like to check in on them. I love the people that work in my apartment complex. Like I've made great friends with them because I pass by them every single day and we have our own inside jokes and everything like that. But I like to learn about people. It's just like, so I started off with being kind and that like opens the door a little bit so I can start to explore the person. And if that person interests me, then, we can, if I'm at a bar and I see somebody alone, I'll strike up a conversation with them because most likely they're not there alone by choice or something like that, unless they're really depressed, in which case they'll tell me to fuck off and I'll be like, okay, have a great day. But I think everybody has something they want to share with you. And I think that there's value in trying to seek that out a little bit. And there are times where I don't want to talk to people too. And I get that. Like I'm human. I'm very bipolar in the aspect of like, I get very into things. Like I want to go out all the time. And then there are days where I don't want to leave the house. So I'm very extreme on each scale. But I'm always going to try and make an effort to make everybody feel welcome and warm and, at the very least get some sort of kindness and like walk away from an experience with me being like, that guy was like not bad. Like I'm not shooting for spectacular. I'm just like, at the very least, I want people to walk away and be like, he was a nice guy, I think there's a great, that's just a great quality to have when somebody doesn't have something bad to say about you. And it's just like, Yeah, I mean, you never know like who they talk to. You know, you could swipe right on Bumble or something, and they could, be friends. They live in South Beach, Miami, where I live, and they hit them up, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I actually met that kid. Like, he's really like a nice guy." And I think kindness kills. I think it's just the way it goes. This turning into too long of a rant, but
I love a kindness rant.
yeah, I do think like if you are internally fulfilled and just really genuinely a happy person, it does like kindness comes pretty naturally. Like you have nothing to be upset about. And if you're not happy or whatever, I still think that you should make an effort to be kind or talk to somebody about something, and they'll appreciate the realness, I think. Like it's not to be fake. Like you got to speak your mind and everything, but I think like, friends are kind of like a therapy session a little bit, and you can make friends with anybody. And I think that if you turn somebody away, or if you just walk by somebody without giving them a hello, you're slamming a door. You're not giving anybody an opportunity. Some person sitting at a bar, my doorman, whoever it is, they could become my best friend. So we'll see we see what happens. And you're never going to have that unless you kind of just say hi, say hi, be kind.
In today's modern world, attention, our attention is splintered in so many different ways. We have so many different ways to spend our attention. I think giving your attention to someone else today is maybe the kindest thing that you can do. Undivided, making sure that other people feel like they matter, that they're heard, that they're seen. I think that is like the most loving thing that you can do.
I agree. I mean, I get, I find myself to be an incredibly interesting guy, Troy.
You are.
I am a great conversationalist. I love making people laugh, and nothing's better than a good smile sitting across from me. If I feel like I'm entertaining somebody, I'm having a great time. Like I'll keep going. Um, I get very insulted when I'm like sitting across from somebody, and I call my mom out on this all the time, even though she's not one of these people, but she does it every once in a while. She'll pull out her phone when we're having dinner or drinks or
Lauren,
something.
what are you doing, Lauren?
And I'll just be like, "Oh, here we go again. These millennials with their phones." Because I never do that. When I'm at a dinner table with somebody, my phone is, I'll keep it on me just in case it's the bad phone, Work's never over. I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I have to be ready for whatever phone call comes to me. But if that phone doesn't buzz in my pocket, I might check to see if I got like a text message or a call. But I'm not like on Instagram when I'm out to dinner. I'm not scrolling through Snapchat when I'm at a bar. People are getting my full and undivided attention because I think nothing on that I think the phones are poisonous. I think everybody knows that phones can be very poisonous. But nothing on that phone can be better than what I can get out of the experience of being present. Like real life. I think real life is awesome. Like it's cool.
Good. Because our phones are so poisonous for many of us, we are developing a lot of confidence issues. I think you are the most confident man that I've ever come across. For those of us who struggle with confidence, what would your advice be to those who struggle with confidence to try to improve that? How can you feel or act more confident?
Fake it. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, there is something real to that.
Listen, like I'm passionate, and I think a lot of times my passion can seem like confidence because I speak boldly and I talk boldly. I speak my mind. I will say anything to anybody. I really keep nothing holstered. Like if something comes up, I'm going to bring it up. If something's bothering me, I'm going to bring it up. But there's time. Everybody has moments of, where you kind of question yourself or confidence issues or whatever. But at the end of the day, I take a look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm the fucking shit, man. Like I just get things done. Like I don't know. I have too much good things in my life to like not be confident, and to a certain degree. I'm not sitting here being like I'm the most confident guy in the world, but I've been blessed. Like got very lucky with my job, and I fell into something that's been magnificent. I consider myself to be a fairly good-looking guy. I feel like I feel like a lot of people have image issues, and I that doesn't really happen to me. Like I have a lot of confidence about how I look, whether I'm fat, skinny, whatever it is. It doesn't really bother me too much, and I think again, like if you put an effort, like just the slightest bit of effort into what I was saying about like just being kind and like making notes that like I think people suffer with their confidence when they bury themselves into their phone. They don't have interpersonal communication. I think that community helps your confidence. I think that when you have great friends that you talk to over like whether it's over the phone, you're having a real conversation with somebody, or you go to a bar and you talk to somebody. I think when you look somebody in the eye and you tell them what you're thinking and you're just making a connection, I think that helps your confidence so much. I think that if you just drop everything, you're just like, fuck it. I'm going to talk to this person. I don't know them. I don't know how they're going to receive it, but I'm just going to do it. You see a girl at the bar who's just like beautiful, and most people are like, she's out of my league. I'm going to go talk to her because, like, what's the worst that can happen? She'll go, ew, this motherfucker stinks. And I'll be like, all right, have a good day. Or she'll be like, oh, I'm just here with my friends. And I'll be like, oh. And then, I'll start a conversation just based off of some stupid
what's the line?
I don't have lines. I'm not a pickup artist. I have a friend that has like libraries of lines. And just like, I think lines are corny. I'm more like a Jerry Seinfeld type of guy. I'm observational. Like I read the room and I just try to make a joke or play games or something. Like we spent 2 hours at a bar last night playing before and afters, and we were having the greatest. It's not that hard to have a great time if you just let your guard down and just say fuck it, I'm gonna go and do this. And I share incredible moments with complete strangers, and I think that those experiences build confidence. The fact that I run into most people and most people have a good time with me because I am a happy-go-lucky, fun-loving individual with no ulterior motives. I am just present with you. And I think that most people leave interactions with me being like, that's a good guy. He's cool. Like I had fun with him. That helps my confidence because I'm like, my hit rate, I don't usually have the greatest first impression with professional situations, but socially, my hit rate has to be at least 87%. And if you bat 300 in baseball, you make the Hall of Fame. So I'm going to the Hall of Fame. So that makes me pretty confident.
So as we wrap up here, there's one final question that I like to ask of people. What is one flaw that you have that you want to work on, that you want to get better at?
What is it? The biggest flaw that I have is kind of just being, it goes back, I can't think of the word right now. Maybe you can help. You're the wordsmith amongst us. When like I do really like when I do really well with my job, like you're a guy who is like a glutton for work. Like you really get off on like putting all you got into your job. I'm more of a glutton for my free time and experiences and like meeting people and that stuff. And when I do a lot of work and it pays off and I have like a great month, sometimes I can take my foot off the gas pedal a little bit and, get complacent. That's exactly what and I'm not an extremely complacent person because it usually takes me 2 or 3 days to be like, all right, time to get back on the treadmill and like whatever. But there is occasions when I'm like riding high and I'm feeling myself a little bit and like work's going good and dating life is going good. And I just like get complacent, like whatever. Because I'm always happy, but then I get really happy and I'm like, this life is just fucking awesome. I can't believe. And I just kind of like lean into that. But I'm still a 31-year-old man. I'm still trying to build up. I'm still trying to like, build myself into something that, can be sustainable for the future. Right now, I'm doing very, very well for where I'm at right now. But if I were to quit tomorrow, I'm not ready to go 50, 20, whatever, how many years I need to go. So I got to continue working. And I'm a hard worker. I really am. When I get to it, I bust my ass. But there are moments of complacency that really kicked in probably about a year ago when stuff started really going well for me, that I could probably work on a little bit. Again, it's not extreme. Probably not the best answer in the world, but it is something that I should probably get slightly better at. Maybe take half a day to be complacent, not a couple of days. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, I love that topic. It's something that I wrote about in my book, and I use Conor McGregor as an example because it's like you get to the top. I mean, you're famous, you've got so many followers, you're well known, you've got money at the wazoo. Then it's like once you've got all those things, how do you get better? Like he hasn't won a fight. He's a fighter. He hasn't won a fight. He's won one fight in the last like 5 years because you've just gotten like very complacent.
I mean, like Conor McGregor is an incredibly flawed individual, but he's also a massive success. I mean, as far as life goes, he's winning like pretty hard. And if he doesn't want to train or fight, he could quit tomorrow and be he could take care of his kids. He could take care of his kids' kids. He's going to be rich forever and probably for generations beyond him. So I don't hate it as much because at some point you got to enjoy life. And, I not to say that I like Conor McGregor because I know he's like pretty canceled at this point.
Yeah, he's not great.
But I don't mind Conor McGregor as much as most people do. But I got a question for you.
Oh, let's go.
All right, let's get into it. I mean, you've been in Miami now for 2 days.
Yeah.
Could you see yourself living here?
I asked myself this question 5 times already since I've been here.
I mean, listen, you've been to a lot of different spots. I know today, I mean, we woke up and played tennis. I got a little sunburnt. I'm not sure if it's going to come through on the video. And then we went to the beach.
Yeah.
You're very bad at standing still, and beach days are very chill. I mean, we were, well, at least I was fairly hungover, and the beach is very nice for that. I love that. Then we did the cold plunge, and we did the hot dogs. Great day. That wasn't so much your scene, but then I take you to a place like Wynwood, which is a little bit more popular, has some cool breweries and stuff like that. And then you haven't even seen Coral Gables, which I think you would be a big fan of. Could you see yourself living here?
I could. I mean, this place isn't like where I was in Hawaii, unless like in Waikiki, it's very similar to Miami. I didn't like it so much in the moment when I was in Hawaii, but since then I've been like, gosh, that was really nice. I really want to go back there. And so Miami's kind of similar to where, like, you know what? I actually can live well in a place like this. And I didn't think that there was anything to seasonal depression. Like, I thought that was all a hoax, but I was never sad in Hawaii. Like, I definitely go in and out. When I was in London, I had so much fun in London, but I had my bad days. I didn't have any bad days in Hawaii. You probably don't have too many bad days here. And I would really like to minimize my bad days. And this seems like a place I could do it. So I'm not sure if I would sign a year lease here because I can't sign a year lease anywhere and be content with that. But maybe I could do like a month here, 3 months there.
Yeah, I feel that. You know, January to March is pretty shitty in the Northeast. Exactly. Pretty cool down here. No, I like, it's hard to wake up in the morning and look at the ocean and the beach and all the beautiful people around here and like hate life.
Yeah, the food, and I'm not a food guy. The food has been fantastic. I'm talking like the healthy food has been really good. It's rare that the healthy food is like, wow, this is fire. It's so good here.
Well, that's Miami. I mean, like everybody needs to be healthy here. It's funny. I have one friend that moved to Miami a few years ago, and he's in recovery actually. But there's a lot of time. He's a little bit lazy, and sometimes he called me and he was just like, hey, Jake, like, I love Florida, but I also kind of hate Florida because it's impossible to just have one of those days where you don't do anything. You see everybody outside. You see everybody active. Everybody's beautiful. They're all thin and ripped and just almost plastic. A lot of people are plastic here. Then like you see these people and it's like you see the sun shining and like the ocean, and it's impossible to just sit in your bed and be like, I shouldn't be outside right now. I know I should be outside right now, but I'm just going to decide to be a piece of garbage. Like in New York, you wake up on a Sunday in December, it's 35 degrees, it's raining. You're like, I'm hungover. Guess I can't go outside today. Sucks so bad. That doesn't happen here, like, ever. And I feel like that's very much up your alley because
that sounds nice.
You're like, I like to go out and do shit, which is why we're friends. I mean, you and I, it's funny because we joke about it a lot. There's like, we have a spectrum here, and it's like the Troy to Jake scale where we have very different personalities. We're bonded over our passion for like life and experiences and stuff like that, but we're very different in like entertainment forms and like how we go about, you know, getting the most of situations. And we have a lot of friends that fall onto the scale. It's like, all right, are they more like the Jake side or are they more like the Troy side? I mean, we love them all the same, but there's just like the extremes are me and you, and then everybody else falls right in between.
Yeah, the Troy side is obviously the best.
The stoic wanderer versus the fucking animal.
The Miami degenerate. Thank you for joining me very much, Jake. I'm sure we'll have you back on the Found Generation probably in like another year and a half. Or if I move to Miami and you kick your brother out of your new apartment and I slide in because I might need a place to stay.
Yeah, maybe I'll just be the co-host of the Found Generation and we can hit that spectrum all the time. You can ask them about their like emotions and stuff. I'll be like, so what'd you get into last night, bro? You go party? You go hook up with chicks? I feel like this would be
a great podcasting spot. I'm sure you've got a melting pot of interesting people here. So
there's no doubt. I mean, you've met a few already that already are pretty got great personalities.
I've had several people pitch themselves to be on the show already.
Yeah, I mean, Miami, you know, we're a huge community of attention whores. So I'm sure everybody I know would be more than happy to join your podcast and help you grow.
Jake, thank you for joining, and I wish you all the best with everything. You're killing it, and I'm very proud of you.
Likewise here, Troy. Very happy that you're here right now with me and sharing this weekend with me and, you know, sharing my experiences. And likewise to you. Book, phenomenal. Read cover to cover.
Left a review, which, by the way, you can do. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the Amazon page.
But very, very real. Like, everything that you do. Very, very proud of what you do. Like, you are the hardest worker I know, and I'm happy that you're my friend, man.